Nana Shastra Vichanek Nipano Sahadharma Samsapakam Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Mahanyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravindra Bhajana Nandena Mattalikayo Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. Hare Krishna. Alright, so we'll resume our discussion and we are going to start. The presentation is visible, Prabhu. We are going to start with the 18th chapter, the characteristic of one in ecstatic love. All right. So, chapter 18 continues with the description of Bhava Bhakti. What are the symptoms of Bhava? One characteristic of Bhava is Chit Mashniya, which means a soft heart, sensitive to Krishna conscious emotions. Various emotional reactions like crying, shivering, faltering of the voice, etc., symptomize such softness of disposition. Any actor or actresses can imitate tears, shivering, etc. It does not mean they have bhava bhakti. Any actor or actress can imitate tears and shivering. It does not mean they have bhava bhakti. There was this individual when during the time of Prabhupada, he came to the temple and during the morning prayers time, he began to roll on the ground. This is one of the symptoms described. You roll on the ground like that and you howl, oh Krishna, like this. And begin to roll on the ground and somebody went running to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, one devotee in ecstatic emotion have fallen on the ground, he's rolling on the ground. Prabhupada said, well, we'll figure it out if that's ecstatic symptom or dramabaji. So devotee asked, how do we figure out? Prabhupada said, kick him. And when you kick him, how he react will tell you if that's ecstatic mood or that's dramabaji. And one devotee went and kicked him and he began to scream at it, howl at him. He began to give him nine interesting galiyan. And then Prabhupada said, throw this individual outside, he's faking his bhava here. Furthermore, sometimes the devotee who really does have bhava may purposely, screen please, conceal these emotional symptoms and remain undetected. Therefore, external symptoms are not sufficient evidence to ascertain that a devotee has achieved bhava. In fact, we discussed before, a devotee would generally have these practices or emotions concealed within. Internally, he will continue to practice, but externally, he would deal like a sadhana bhakta. If you remember, we had this discussion before. And Srimad Bhagavatam, second and third chapter, verse 24, Srila Prabhupada explains. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has very critically discussed all these bhava displays in connection with some unscrupulous neophytes, imitating the above symptoms for cheap adoration. Not only Vishwanath Chakravarti, but also Srila Prabhupada treats them very critically. Sometimes all the above 8 symptoms of ecstasies are imitated by mundane devotees. Therefore, real steady bhava is definitely displayed in the matter of cessation of material desires. No more material hankings, shanti. Utilization of every moment in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, avyartha kalatvam. We just saw the example of chintamati like that. Eagerness for glorifying the Lord constantly, namagane sadaruchi. Attraction for living in the land of the Lord, pritistad vasanti sthali. Complete detachment from material happiness, virakti. Doesn't matter if there is a food to eat or not. Complete detachment from such kind of things, or even if there is a suki roti to eat, doesn't matter. He's happy with this practice. Pridelessness, manashunyata. One who has developed all these transcendental qualities really possessed of bhava, as distinguished from the stone-hearted imitator or mundane devotees. Hare Krishna. So now what we'll see are the 9 reliable symptoms, which are actually briefly have been spoken here. These are all the symptoms which manifest at the stage of bhava bhakti. We can fake, but not to everyone and for all the time. So Srila Rupa Goswami have done a very beautiful analysis to tell us. And when you read such sections, then you understand why Prabhupada called it as a law book of ISKCON or law book of bhakti. By studying this, you can understand what is real bhakti and what is not a real bhakti. What are the 9 reliable symptoms? Hare Krishna. So, who among audience would like to read may raise their hands and then you can read it. Till the time you raise your hand, I'll start reading. Srila Rupa Goswami gives a list of 9 character traits possessed by a genuine Bhava Bhakta. What are those? Avyartha kalatvam means he just cannot waste his time. And the example was given of that Chintamati, I believe that's the name of the lady, who danced whole night without wasting a time for rest. Sleeping in the night is a waste of time. Hare Krishna. So, if in case you find it a little surprising, once in a conversation with Prabhupada, devotee was having a conversation with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, "You know why have I come here? I have come here to teach you how not to waste your time on sleeping, eating, mating, defending. So, you sleep as long as we are in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Beyond it, avyarta kalatvam. Shanti, perseverance, remain tolerant and patient even amid great disturbances. You know, equipoised, not giving up hope or becoming hopeless. What could be a better example than Mother Kunti and Draupadi for that reason? You know, the characters is worth studying, investigating, and discussing about. They're perfect case studies for such qualities. Virakti, detachment, complete indifference to objects of sense gratification. Yudhishthira Maharaj suits a wonderful example. He was so happy living in the forest, and he was just some time ago, he was the king of the whole world, and everything has been taken away just because of some dice game. And he's no remorse, no regret, and not hankering, oh, I lost all everything, so much opulence, so much comfortable living. Where am I living? Nothing, totally detached. And a classic example of his detachment also get to see first another instance of detachment after the winning the war. He said, I'm not going to become the king. Abba, why did you fight? Why did you engage us in fighting? Everyone fought for you. Now you say you don't want to become a king, and everyone is pushing him to become the king. And he said, no, I will not become the king. And second, another example of his detachment is seen the moment Yudhishthira got to know from Arjuna, Krishna has departed. Then and there he made his mind, leaving. Prabhupada, it's a beautiful point. Where was I reading it recently? I was speaking about the subject matter recently in one of the classes. Prabhupada said, a devotee is always situated in the spirit of renunciation. This is in third canto, second chapter, verse number 16, 17. I believe the purport of 17 is about Vidurji. And when Vidurji was criticized, his mother was insulted, etc. by Duryodhan, Vidurji just walked away without any regret. And therefore, there in that purport, Prabhupada writes, a devotee is always situated in a spirit of renunciation. He can always give up like this. Beautiful point. Virakti. Mana shunyataha, pridelessness. One feels humble even though he is extremely elevated. Man shunyata, like this. Prideless, feels humble even though he is extremely elevated. We can say example of Parikshit Maharaj. He was personally saved by the Lord. He was a direct descendant of the pure devotees of the Lord, named Pandavas, and how with all humility, humility means also to accept one's mistake. With all humility, he accepted that I made a mistake by putting a dead snake around the neck of what are the name of Shangi was the name of the son, the father of Shangi.
Shamika.
Shamik Rishi, right? Samik Rishi, correct,
Yeah.
correct. Samik Rishi. He said, oh, I'm at fault. And the moment Parishad Maharaj got to know, while Samik Rishi got to know from his son Shringi that he has cursed, Samik Rishi was feeling so sad, so sorry about the foolishness or the foolish act of his son. And he was thinking the king has all the right to punish them actually for this, big blunder the son has done. Whereas when Parishad Maharaj heard it, he said, well, yeah, what can I do? It was my mistake. This is called as humility. Man Shinata. He left, went to the forest, taking shelter of sadhus humbly begging them, please give me direction to my life. What should I do? Whose shelter should I take? What subject matter should I hear at the end of one's life? This is man the pridelessness. One feels humble even though he's extremely elevated. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, if Parikshit Maharaj wanted, he could have, he had that strength. He could have countered the curse, but he, with all humility, accepted. Asha Banda, hope against hope. Firm faith that Krishna will deliver one to the highest perfection, even though one feels low, and utterly qualified to achieve it on his own. Hope against hope. Firm faith that Krishna will deliver one to the highest perfection, utterly unqualified to achieve it on his own. I'm just sharing some example that's coming to my mind while reading it. We were recently reading about Mother Rukmani's letter sent to Krishna. And she very clearly said, well, I cannot do anything to protect myself from getting married to this rascal Shishupal. If Lord, you don't come, I'll just commit suicide. So my hope is only you. And then she gives a whole strategy and plan how to kidnap her, etc., and all that. Hope against hope. And I mean, she didn't knew even the letter would reach Krishna in time. She just wrote the letter, gave it to Brahmana. And there was not the time of WhatsApp and email technology. Would Brahmana reach in time? And by the time it reaches to Krishna, would Krishna come? There's hope against hope. Firm faith that Krishna will deliver one to the highest perfection, even though one feels low. And the sixth, Samat Kantha, intense eagerness for achieving pure loving service. Intense eagerness for achieving pure loving service. Namagane Sadarshi, constant attraction to chanting the holy names of the Lord. Asaktistat Gunakhyane, addiction to glorifying Krishna's quality. Generally, we use the word addiction. So we think of smoke addiction, alcohol addiction. And here, addiction to speaking about Krishna, glorifying Krishna. Pritis tad vasati sthale, love for living in the Lord's dham. Pritis tad vasati sthale, sthan, where the Lord have resided. After listing the 9 characteristics, Srila Rupa Goswami separately defines and illustrates each one of this with Shastra examples. So you can see that, page number 135 to 139. Prabhupada or Srila Rupa Goswami gives an example of each one of them. Utilization of time, avyartha kalatvam, like that. Perseverance. King Prashad example is mentioned in perseverance, like this. Detachment. Bharat Maharaj example is mentioned in detachment. Pridelessness. King Bhagirath example is mentioned. And there is an interesting story that Prabhupada mentioned is of Lal Babu, a Calcutta landholder. You can please read at your leisure. And then great hope, like this. Prabhupada quotes Srila Rupa Goswami's prayer in this regard. Beautiful prayer. And he talks about that how Rupa Goswami, when she met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what did he say? I have no love for Krishna, nor for the cause of developing love for Krishna, namely hearing and chanting. And the process of bhakti by which one is always thinking of Krishna and fixing lotus feet in the heart is also lacking in me. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, your humility is breaking my heart. Eagerness for achieving the desired success. Bilva Mangala Thakur example is given by Prabhupada or maybe Rupa Goswami. Attachment to chanting the holy names of the Lord. Yeah, like this. Radharani's name is mentioned, example is mentioned. Eagerness to describe Lord's transcendental qualities, etc., is mentioned. An attraction for living in a place where Krishna has his pastimes. You can see that like this. Okay, dangerous attachment. Let's continue. Ecstatic symptoms. Please do read. I'm giving you a summary here so that you understand point wise. But do read the chapters on your own. Somebody would like to read ecstatic symptoms in neophyte or non-devotees.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sometimes non-devotees may seem to exhibit signs of ecstasy. This is simply an external display of mundane emotion. Genuine ecstatic symptoms are the private domain of advanced devotees with strong and exclusive attachment for Krishna. They can never appear in people attached to sense gratification or liberation. It is said by Rupa Goswami that attachment exhibited by pure devotees for Krishna cannot possibly be perfected in the hearts of future workers or mental speculators. Even those who earnestly execute sadhana bhakti may not attain bhava, so what to speak of a non-devotee? Srila Prabhupada says this attachment is very confidently kept by Krishna and is bestowed only upon pure devotees.
Very
Even
important
today,
is
devotees.
bestowed, is given. It's just not that we can grab it on our own. Sudurlabha, like that. Please continue.
Even ordinary devotees cannot have such pure attachment for Krishna. Therefore, how is it possible for success to be achieved by persons whose hearts are contaminated by actions and reactions of fruitive activities and who are entangled by various types of mental speculation?
So,
When
here
neophyte
discussion is being done about those who are on the sentimental platform, who appears to practice some kind of bhakti, and they show some kind of the symptoms. And then you wonder, yaar, मैं इतने समय से भक्ति कर रहा हूँ, I am not having this. How are they having the symptoms? So that's a point being raised here. Well, there's no question of such symptoms arising because these qualities cannot be bestowed in them. That this is just being, they have picked it up, seeing their false teachers teaching them while you do something, you cry, externally imitation, and that is what is being happening. It is just not possible for those who are caught up in the cycle of fruitive actions like that, and those who are entangled by various types of mental speculation. All right, continue.
when neophyte or non-devotees simply emotions that display emotions that resemble the symptoms of bhava, it is known as rati abhyasa, a mere reflection of bhava. There are two types of rati abhyasa: pratibimba, reflective, and chaya, shadow.
So pratibhim and chaya, the same thing you find in namabhas also. Pratibhim and Chaya Namabhas, like this. So this is a standard way of analyzing, which means reflective and shadow, like this. So in the same way, the subject matter of Bhava Bhakti has been also discussed. So I was making a point, somebody like all of us would have had experience in the beginning stages of certain ecstatic emotions like tears in our tears in our eyes. I said it is pratibimba, it's reflective by the special mercy of the Lord. Now there will be further discussion on these two qualities. All right. Madhav Kripapu, please go ahead and read. Reflective attachment.
Reflective attachment, Pratibimba, Rati Abhasa. Someone may execute devotional service with an ulterior motive for fruitive gain or liberation. In this case, although the motive is corrupt, the practice is usually quite intense. While performing devotional activities in the association of advanced devotees, such a person may experience symptoms that resemble ecstasy because the genuine ecstasy of advanced devotees are reflecting upon the mirror of his heart. Srila Prabhupada explains, sometimes it is found that a person actually attached to material enjoyment or salvation has the good fortune to associate with pure devotees while they are engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord. By the good grace of the Lord, one may also cooperate and join in the chanting. At that time, simply by the association of such pure devotees, the moon-like rays from their hearts reflect on him, and by the influence of the pure devotees, he may show some likeness of attachment.
All right. So this is because of one's association with advanced devotees, and we may, again, it's a case of mercy. We may have some of this reflected within us. All right. What is shadow attachment? Chaya Rati Abhas. Mother Priyanka, please read.
Sometimes shadow attachment chaya rati abhas. Sometimes a person may execute devotional service out of social convention or vague curiosity. Compared to reflective attachment, this devotional service is less intense, but the motive is not nearly as corrupt. Such people may exhibit a slight resemblance of ecstatic symptoms, especially when they join kirtan, attend big festivals, visit the holy dham, or get the occasional association of saintly devotees.
Just like I was
Srila
making a
Prabhupada.
point, when there's a wonderful family, the upcoming devotees, I would say. Not sure if they're chanting the holy names of the Lord on everyday basis, but he was sharing the experience at the end of the yatra. He had to leave a day before yatra or 2 days before yatra because professional duty. And he messaged me somewhere around 11 in the night, saying that, Prabhuji, I don't know what happened. The moment I sat in the car and the car began to drove me out of Vrindavan, I couldn't hold on to my tears, and they began to roll down my cheeks. So this is one example, this is one symptom of it, and this is what we're talking about, shadow attachment. They just recently joined, and being in the association of Dhamma and the influence of Dham, they felt that symptom of or the emotions of ecstasy like that. So that's the point is mentioned here. Please continue.
Srila Prabhupada explains such shadow attachment or para attachment can develop if one associates with a pure devotee or visits holy places like Vrindavan or Mathura, and if an ordinary man develops such attachment for Krishna and fortunately performs devotional activities in the association of pure devotees, he can also rise to the platform of pure devotional service. The previous type of rati abhas, pratibimba, more intensely reflects bhava. It is like an image reflected in a mirror. Sometimes, however, in chaya, rati abhyas, the symptoms are not as clearly reflected. It is more like a shadow cast on the ground. There is only a vague uh, resemblance to the original object. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada translates Chaya Rati Abhas as shadow attachment or Pratibimba Rati Abhas as reflective attachment. Srila Prabhupada describes shadow attachment Chaya as transcendental. Even though it is less intense, shadow attachment Chaya is better than reflective attachment Pratibimba because there is less ulterior motive.
So, what is the difference between Pratibimba and Chaya? In Pratibimba, in fact, the devotee is very intensely practicing devotional life. However, because not having the right motivation, and which is obvious in the initial days, we don't have those right motivations. Atho, Athati, Jnani, Jigyasu. For different reasons, we get connected to Krishna consciousness. It takes, I don't have immediate Shastri Praman in terms of how long it takes. Maybe Bahunam Janmanam Ante could take many lifetimes, in fact, to develop the right motivation. Or else one is fortunate enough, like Narada the boy was fortunate enough to serve the Bhaktivedantas, and by their mercy he developed the right, goal or the desire. Then it could happen. So that's a point. Such an individual could be in the association of advanced Vaishnavas, maybe serving, but his intention, his goal is not correct, not pure. And because of in their association, he may often exhibit such symptoms. However, the chaya, the shadowy, what we were discussing in the bhava symptoms that could be considered better than the pratibimba, although it is less intense, but the intention is more pure here. So that's just a technical thing about it. If anyone has any clarification or discussion on the subject matter of about chaya rati abhas and pratibimb rati abhas, like that, symptoms in neophytes on the non-devotees who show. So pratibimb is also known neophytes, and in fact we can say chaya rati abhas could be more even for non-devotees in that sense. They're very new like that. So this the subject matter over here, ecstatic symptoms. Prior to that, we were discussing about the 9 reliable symptoms of bhava bhakti. This is good to remember. We can memorize this. Avyata kalatum shanti virakti manashanata ashabandha samatkanta nama sada gune nam gane sadaruchi asakti tas gunakhyane pritistat vasati sthale. This could be good to memorize these things like that. All right, transforming rati abhas into genuine bhava. Okay, Kuntal Prabhu, you want to read? Go ahead. Mother Shama Vallabi, any one of you.
Hare Krishna. Transforming Rati Abhas into genuine bhava. The power of devotees is the only cause of both semblance of ecstasy. If one serves these devotees, his imitative attachment can transform into genuine attachment. Srila Prabhupada explains, if such attachment is seen manifested even in some common man, by the association of a pure devotee, it can bring one to the perfectional stage. But such attachment for Krishna cannot be invoked in a person without he being sufficiently blessed by the association of pure devotees. In other words, the only way that one can transform his imitative emotions into genuine bhava is by receiving the mercy of a pure devotee. His mercy is his mercy is attained by service and blocked by offenses. If someone offends a devotee, whatever attachment he has achieved, real or imagined, will wane away to nothing. Srila Prabhupada explains, our attachment can be invoked by the association of pure devotees, so attachment can also be extinguished by offenses committed at the lotus feet of pure devotees. To be more clear, by association of pure devotees, attachment for Krishna can be aroused, but if one commits an offense at the lotus feet of a devotee, one's shadow attachment or para attachment can be extinguished. Para attachment can be extinguished. If the offense is very serious, then one's attachment becomes almost nil. And if the offense is not very serious, one's attachment becomes second class or third class. The most offensive mentality is impersonalism. If one even associates with the impersonalist, the devotional ecstasy will wane and be extinguished. Srila Prabhupada explains, if someone becomes attached to the principles of salvation or to merging into the existence of Brahma Jyoti, these ecstasies gradually diminish into shadow and para attachment, or else transform into the principle of anha, uh, anhagra
Ahangra
upasana.
upasana, ahangra upasana, like that. Okay.
Upasana. The person who associates with impersonalists becomes contaminated by the notion, I am God. Srila Prabhupada says, it is this view that by worshipping himself, he is worshipping the Supreme Force. Sometimes it is found that a neophyte is taking part in chanting and dancing very enthusiastically, but within himself he is under the impression that he has become the Supreme Force. This offensive mentality undermines any hope for advancement in genuine bhava bhakti.
Hare Krishna. All right. So transforming Rati Vas into genuine Bhav is only possible by the mercy of the pure devotee. So here is a quick question. If in case none of you have a question here, I have a quick question about um, this terminology is often used Mayavad and impersonalist. Uh, is there any difference between Mayavad and impersonalist, or both are the same, merging into Brahman? And that is what is being mentioned about, impersonalist like that. Just to be clear about what we're reading here. Any quick thoughts onto that? What is Mayavad? Merging into Brahman.
They are
Brahman is the supreme, like that. Yes, Madhav Kripa Prabhu.
they are different, Prabhu. In a sense, like impersonalism does not believe in form of God. They do worship, they do read shastras, but they have a different interpretation that God cannot have a personality. That is their interpretation. And whereas when it comes to Mayavad, there are different types of Mayavad, is what I read. Okay, there could be some people who believe in Brahma Jyoti, and then there are some people who believe in an unseen force, and there are different variations to Mayavad as well.
Correct. Those have
Some
evolved.
call
Those have evolved as the Kali Yuga evolved. But in general, Mayavad means everything is false. There is only one truth, that is Brahman. That is Mayavad. So Sukdev Goswami was impersonalist or Mayavadi?
Impersonalist.
earlier, but then
Sukdev Goswami was impersonalist. So the reason I brought this thing, this terminology is often used and it leads to a little confusion. Just to clarify, the term impersonalism does not mean that the impersonalist is rejecting the form of the Lord. Impersonalism means the realization has only taken to the stage where they understand the Lord to be formless. Not formless, Abir would say more. It says, but the Lord is not, is not a person.
form.
Is not a person. To say exactly, it's formless. I don't know if that to put into that, but it's not a person like that, like how we are in that way. And therefore, when Sukdev was of the four Kumaras, rest of our four Kumaras said to be the original impersonalists. like that. And when they receive the mercy, when they spell Tulsi Makaranda Vayu, that particular Tasya Ravinda, that particular show that comes in the third canto, when they smell the fragrance of Tulsi Maharani, then they immediately became devotee of the Lord. So, impersonalists are not offenders. It is the Mayavadis who are offenders. And somehow these terminologies are misused intermixingly, therefore we get confused. As far as my understanding goes, this should be a subject matter of Mayavadis who is being talked here, who believe in merging in Brahman, and or maybe a branch of impersonalists who claim themselves. Because does impersonalists claim themselves to be Narayan? Is that impersonalism or
No,
Mayavad?
no, that's Mayavad.
That's Mayavad, right? So when it was written about impersonalism here, that actually should indicate to Mayavadis. Is that making sense? Just a technical thing. I thought of talking all this because next book is Ishopanishad. We'll be discussing elaborately that time. Then I would be saying, no, this is Mayavad, this is impersonal. Then you say, no, in that purport we read, it was said. So it has been used that way, but it's not the actual meaning that way. Fine. All right, let's move forward. Transforming Ratyavas into genuine bhava. Apparently caused as bhava. If a person apparently has not undergone serious devotion practices suddenly manifest symptoms of ecstasy, one should not automatically assume that he is pretending or exhibiting one of the varieties of Rativas. His ecstasy may be genuine if it is seen that a person has developed high standard of devotion without having undergone even the regular principles. It is to be understood that his state of the devotion service is achieved in a former life. And he is a devotee from the past life, Bharat Maharaj becoming a deer, and from deer to Jad Bharat. Attitude towards faults in devotees. Very nice. Who would like to read this? Madhakar Prabhu, go ahead.
If a person on the platform of bhava appears to have some fault, how should we understand this? Srila Rupa Goswami explains that although bhava has arisen, it has not yet completely destroyed all sinful reactions. One should disregard such faults, understanding that the devotee will soon become completely perfect by the glorious force of his devotion. Srila Prabhupada says the example is given that on the full moon there are some spots which may appear to be pockmarks. Still, the illumination spread by the full moon cannot be checked. Similarly, a little fault in the midst of volumes of devotional service is not at all to be counted as a fault.
Hare Krishna. So this concludes the subject matter of chapter 18. Anyone has any points to add or clarify about the subject matter of Bhava Bhakti, particularly the symptoms of Bhava Bhakti were highlighted here. All right. Let's go to the last
Hare
chapter.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
One
Mother, go
question.
ahead. Yes.
Prabhuji, sir, here we saw everything depends on the mercy of the devotees and association of devotees.
Mm-hmm.
So, association of devotee, we said it is more of following the instructions. Can you just kind of elaborate a little bit more on association of devotees? Exactly how, in practical ways, we can, go ahead and take the association of devotees so that we get that mercy.
There are different ways of looking at it. In case of, let's say, just you were making an example of Mani Seva. Let's take a case of his, our own our own founder, his Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He had a very sparse association, very limited association with a special master, and he drew his largest inspiration from him. Although he did mingled around, moved around, or moved amidst his god brothers, but his greatest source of inspiration and direction came from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, like that. And isn't it amazing? Just one instruction, not too many. When you get the money, when you get the time, write and print in English and distribute and preach to the English audience. That's it. His life was dedicated only on following one instruction. If in case of from that point of view we take a look at it, just following one instruction made Srila Prabhupada successful in all his endeavors as well as his own personal life, of course. I mean, it is beyond doubt to say that he's a pure devotee of the Lord from the beginning of the time. But I'm just saying, in relationship of his, relationship with the spiritual master. So, eventually or ultimately, either in close association or at a distance, we have to find or take ashray of somebody. who we are willing to follow. And that instruction or his teachings we are willing to follow in our life, either in his personal presence or absence. That is actually how association is counted. Association is not counted only in when a person is present in his form and moved around. Then we say, yes, Prabhu, we'll do it. And when he's not around, then we forget about it. And the association have had no impact. So, from the spiritual perspective, our physical presence actually is not so significant. Of course, it is significant, but it's not ultimately so significant as much as our attachment to following the instructions is significant. So, the idea is to follow. And association of devotees, we have to always remember, is on three stages: association of our seniors, of peers, and juniors. And among all three, the most important association is of our seniors. Why? Because it is there where we learn to follow. We don't, this is one relationship where we submit ourselves and we surrender ourselves. Yes, let your will be followed. Let me become nimitta matra bhavasya of your will. And that's the whole subject matter of bhakti. Arjuna, why is he so glorified? Because he chose to become the instrument of Krishna's grace. And you see in the life of every devotee, they all have become the instrument of grace at the hands of Krishna, and they allowed Krishna to play with them according to his will to fulfill his objective of establishing dharma. It could be the case of Prabhupadaji's life, or could be the case of the Goswamis, anyone in that sense. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directed all of them, go to Vrindavan. And they allowed. Sanatana Goswami wanted to commit suicide, wanted to give up his body because his body had become sickly. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced tightly Sanatana Goswami. He said, how dare you think like this is your body? This is my body. I decide, I dictate how to do it. You cannot disown what is mine, what is not yours. So that is what association, which brings us to a platform where we are willing to follow. We are willing to follow. And this is Sharanagati, which is itself a process, takes its own time, like that. And peer association has its own contribution. Peer association is very important to keep us humble because all the conflict generally arises in peer association. And the junior association is also important because that gives us sense of self-worth. हम में भी कुछ अच्छा है, कोई कम से कम कोई तो कहता है कि आप कितने अच्छे हैं. So we need that also because we need some impetus time and again to say that somebody glorifies us, Prabhuji आपने हमारा जीवन बचाया. And then we need peers to keep us humble. इतने भी महान नहीं हो. And then we need senior to tell you are rascal number one. So we need all 360-degree treatment. This is association. I hope that answers. Yes, Madhav Kripa Prabhu.
I had this question. So here it is written, right? When we are chanting in the association of pure devotees, or when we are surrounded by pure devotees, we may get mercy. We may get, right? So I've seen, some devotees rushing around and pushing around to take that opportunity. I do feel that I should be around my spiritual master whenever he is around, or take that. But does it happen just like that, or I am a little confused around that.
That's the reason I made a point. The association of pure devotee doesn't mean hovering around pure devotee. Association of pure devotee means following their instructions, either in proximity or at a distance, doesn't matter, because Paramatma is in the heart, observing how are we conducting ourselves in that relationship. We can cheat anyone, but we cannot cheat a pure devotee because that one person is in close connection with Paramatma. So we may think that devotee would not know, but then that advanced devotee knows what's going on because Paramatma would tell him what's going on. We cannot fool a devotee like that. That's just impossible. So one thing, if not at least at Kanishta stage, we should get one thing convinced or have faith. We should not try to or attempt to fool our seniors. So that relationship has been arranged by the Lord for our own good. And Krishna has arranged that relationship such a way because we cannot hear his sound as Paramatma. Krishna has arranged that relationship for us to function. Krishna has arranged that relationship for our own purification. So when we try to cheat our senior, Krishna as Paramatma will reveal to them where and what we are doing wrong. So we should not try to act smart in that relationship. Now you may think, Prabhu ji, ऐसा तो possible नहीं है. मैंने तो बहुत उल्लू बनाया अपने वरिष्ठों का. खूब झपड़ा घोटाला करा है, किसी को पता नहीं चला. I'm not indicating for you. I'm just saying. Somebody may say that. The reason is if they have not caught you red-handed or not corrected you, it's just because We were not ready for correction. If they would have corrected, we are so brittle and hard, because that's what means Kanishta means stone hearted. A little correction will break our heart, and we would have walked away. So, therefore, such an individual to continue his service has to have one very important quality. Well, two very important qualities. One is patience, and second is forgiveness. Without these two qualities, you cannot really take care of people. I repeat again, patience and forgiveness. Forgiveness, knowing that they're making a mistake, you got to tolerate till the time when he's ready to receive an instruction on how to make an improvement. But otherwise, then what's the whole idea? What's the meaning of all this relationship, which has been orchestrated by the Lord? You know. So at least we should have this firm faith. I may cheat everyone, but at least let me not lie to my senior, because by lying to him, I am not harming anyone but myself. To think that I can be so smart that I can fool him, it's our illusion. Does not work, will never work if it is a Krishna conscious relationship and Lord is orchestrating. If Lord is not in the picture, then it's a different thing. Okay? So this scripturally we should be sound about it. So at least we'll be fearful. I should not cheat. Otherwise, then
The
how will we
last
make improvement?
statement, whether Lord is orchestrating it or not, how do we know that? I mean,
Oh, in which means Lord outside means that relationship is not that only. Which means you're not there for
okay,
Krishna conscious practice. You're gone for some other purpose. So then there's no relationship orchestrated by the Lord, because anyways you're not following the Lord. But when you have some desire to become Krishna conscious person, but yet sometimes our ulterior motivation supersedes our true intentions, and then we make mistakes. So we should be careful not doing anything blunder like this. There's at least one relationship we should not be compromised. It should be maintained pure. We make a blunder. It's better for us to confess sooner. To think that the other person doesn't know, I just cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. With my life's experience and with my experience of taking care, I can tell you it just doesn't work like that. The Lord reveals it. You get to know of it. Because this is all Krishna conscious orchestration. This is all orchestrated by the Lord. This whole Prabhupada said this whole movement is being orchestrated by the Lord. Everything has happened that way. It's for a purpose. All right. Okay, so
thank you.
Brother Chintamani.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes,
Prabhuji,
Mother.
I just had one question regarding this Mayavadi thing. Now, the Kumaras were impersonalist Mayavadis?
They were impersonalists, not Mayavadis.
Because in chapter 9, it is being mentioned that they were Mayavadis.
In chapter 9, which chapter 9?
Yes, in Nectar of Devotion.
So Kumaras
Chapter
have been
9,
called,
if you
Kumaras have been written as Mayavadis.
you just see, Prabhuji, that was confusing me, because here it is written, I'm just reading it out.
Yes, please.
It is stated in the Tantra Shastra, if the smell of the garland which was offered to the deity in the temple enters into a person's nostrils, immediately his bondage to sinful activities become clear. And even if one has no sinful activities, still by smelling such remnants of flowers, one can advance from Mayavadi impersonalist to devotee. There are several instances of this, a prime one being the advancement of the four Kumaras. They were impersonalist Mayavadis, but after smelling the remnants of flowers and incense in the temple, they turned to become devotees. From the above verse, it appears that the Mayavadis or impersonalists are more or less contaminated. They are not pure. So I am confused, because I knew that to be Brahmavadis.
That's correct. You're using the right word. Impersonalists are called as Brahmavadis. So this is where the subject matter becomes a little tricky, but nonetheless, Mayavadis are the one, according to Ishupanishad that we'll read, they are the one, although they're practicing spiritual life, but they're more dangerous than even the karmis. And they're the one who are thrown into the hellish situation of life after their departure. Dark hole, because they really offend the Lord. Impersonalists are not offending the Lord. Their level of realization is up to the state the Lord is not having a form. In the three levels, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan. So Paramatma realization means the Lord is not a person. It's up to that. So they are not offending the Lord that way. Mayavadis are said to be offenders. So this has been used intermittently, but there is a clear distinction in that way. All right. So Mayavadis.
But like, what I just want to know is, we take them as this thing is that even Mayavadis, by smelling the thing, can become devotees, and
No,
Kumaras are
that's
Mayavadis
just not possible. Mayavadis cannot because they're offenders. Just by
because
smelling the
Prabhuji, you
fragrance.
just see Nectar of Devotion, page 85.
Correct. As I said, there have been quite a few mistakes in
Okay.
typo,
Then
and printing, and I highlighted some of this. And therefore, in the beginning of the Raganuga chapter, when we started, I highlighted few mistakes. Where it is Raganuga Bhakta, it has been mentioned Ragatmika. And just in terms of editing Prabhupada books, uh, Prabhupada gave permission. There's a whole discussion going on. There's a committee was founded a couple of years ago, which has started to review everything again, because Prabhupada gave permission for that. And that committee recently gave a presentation where they said how what an author wants to convey and what gets conveyed in the final publication could have a huge difference. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that Krishna is not going to be God after the books are published, reviewed again. Krishna is a God. Sanskrit, basic Sanskrit says so. But certain technical concepts can be misunderstood. Now, for us, for those who have studied so much, where we are confused between Mayavadi and impersonalist. Think about those translators, what do you say, transcribers who are just fresh new from the street. How often it is possible for them to confuse Mayavadi and impersonalism to be seen? Yes or no? And when it has been written down the line, there could be things like that. So such things are there. It doesn't affect overall our practice of bhakti, but there are certain technical glitch which we can see. When you look at
but like
the case of four Kumaras and Shrimad Bhagavatam, nowhere Kumaras have been mentioned as Mayavadis. They're mentioned as impersonalists. So it's possible at this point and this place there is a case of technical error like that. Fine. Yes, Vidyapati Prabhu.
Actually, Mataji is referring the text written in chapter 9 of the. It is actually referred as impersonalist. It is written here Mayavadi, but in bracket it is written impersonalist. And
all right,
Maharaj
so
not,
let's keep the topic of impersonalist and Mayavad for Ishopanishad. I hope you understood what's the difference in it. And you have the reference from Srimad Bhagavatam, Kumar is an impersonal or Mayavad. We are on Prema Bhakti now. Why are you going to the level of impersonalist? You have crossed all those stages. So let's go to the next stage, the highest stage of Prema Bhakti. Let's continue with the flow of devotion. All right, let's clear the screen. Chapter 19, Devotional Service and Pure Love of Godheads. Chapter 19 covers Prema Bhakti, the fourth wave of the Eastern Ocean. The philosophical discussion of Prema is quite brief because Prema is simply the mature state of Bhava. Srila Goswami has already extensively described Bhava. Bhava softens the heart. Prema softens the heart entirely. When Bhava deepens to the maximum, it is called Prema. Srila Rupa Goswami described Bhava as a ray of Prema. Both the sun and the sun ray possesses light, but there is a difference of intensity. Similarly, both Bhava and Prema possesses ecstatic love of God, but it is not as intense in Bhava as it becomes at the stage of Prema. What is the definition of Prema? Samyanmashnita swanto mamattvati sayankitaha bhava saiva sandratma buddha prema nigatyate. When that bhava softens the heart, completely become endowed with a great feeling of possessiveness in relation to the Lord, becomes very much condensed and intensified. It is called prema by the learned scholars. This is Srila Rupa Goswami's definition of prema bhakti, which he confirms with the following quote. In the Narada Pancharatra, it is clearly stated that when lust is transferred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the concept of kinship is completely reposed in him, such is accepted as pure love of God by great authorities like Bhishma, Prahlada, Uddhava, and Narada. He explains further. Great authorities like Bhishma have explained that love of Godhead means completely giving up all so-called love for any other person. According to Bhishma, love means reposing one's affection completely upon one person, withdrawing all affinities for any other person. So, I mean, there's not much discussion on this subject matter here because it's a further absorption as of bhava. The more qualities have been discussed. A little introduction to this prema has been nonetheless made here, where the primary and secondary characteristics have been discussed. The primary characteristics of prema is bhava sa eva sandratma, intensified sandra state of bhava. The secondary characteristics of prema are samyan mashnita swanto, completely softens the heart, and mamatva, marked by highly possessive ownership of Shri Krishna. Sundarananda Visheshatma, which means the highest stage of Sundarananda Visheshatma, like that which is described in the beginning. Uh, you know, Kleshagni Subhadha. Subhadha, Moksha Lagat Sudullabha. Sundarananda Visheshatma means the joy, the state of joy or ecstasy is so great, it just can never be hampered or affected ever, like that. So this is what Sandarananda. And then what are the second stages? Which means at this stage there is no question of devotee ever getting distracted. No way. There's no turning back, like that. Sandarananda. It completely softens the heart. That is the secondary characteristics and is marked by highly possessive ownership of Sri Krishna. Mamatva. Let's have somebody read. Mother Chintamani, would you like to read? Ordinary devotional service has a mood of Tadiya.
Ordinary devotional service has the mood of Tadiya. I am Krishna's. Prema Bhakti, however, has the mood of Mamatva. Krishna is mine. In Bhava Bhakti, one gets a vision of the Lord and understands his eternal relationship with Krishna. However, in Prema Bhakti, one actually enters the Lord's pastimes in one's eternal spiritual identity, overwhelmed with the mood that Krishna is my son, or Krishna is my friend, or Krishna is my lover.
All right.
Achieving Prema.
Yeah, so these are the characteristics of Prema. And the next subject matter of Prema is then how do you achieve Prema? So again, just like Bhava, it can be by practice, Vaidhi sadhana, or Raganuga to Bhava, or by mercy. Similarly, Prema can be achieved through Vaidhi and Raganuga to Bhava, Bhava to Prema, or as through mercy, Prema can be achieved. So let's take a look at Prema arising from maturation of Bhava. Continue, Mother.
Prema arising from maturation of bhava. There are two subdivisions of prema arising from bhava. Vedha bhavattu, prema arising from bhava achieved through Vaidhi sadhana. And raga nugiya bhavatvo, prema arising from bhava achieved through raganuga sadhana. Prema arising from bhava achieved through Vaidhi sadhana. A devotee, in the course of executing the regulative principles of devotional service, develops his natural Krishna consciousness, and being thus softened at heart, he chants and dances like a madman. While performing chanting of the holy name of the Lord, he sometimes cries, sometimes talks wildly, sometimes sings, and sometimes, without caring for any outsider, dances like a madman. This verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.40, shows that constantly practicing the regulative principles of devotional service, Vaidhi, can arouse bhava. Prema arising from bhava achieved through Raganuga sadhana. Srila Rupa Goswami cites the story of Chandrakanti from Padma Purana. Chandrakanti practiced Raganuga sadhana, striving to develop the mood of the Ragatmikas of Vrindavan, especially the gopis. By this practice, she achieved bhava, at which point she decided to accept no one else besides Krishna, virakti. By maturation of her bhava bhakti, she began to constantly engage in meditation on Krishna's form with the concept, Krishna is my lover. This indicates mamatva, a symptom of prema. Thus she achieved prema by maturation of the bhava she achieved through Raganuga sadhana.
All right. So
Prema
this is explanation of achieving the stage of prema through bhava. Vaidhi sadhana to bhava to prema, or Raganuga sadhana to bhava to prema. Just the natural progression. Now, interesting is about how through mercy it can be attained. And we saw there were 3 mercy cases: by speech, by glance, etc. Similarly, prema can also be achieved by mercy. Continue, Mother. Srimad Bhagavatam.
Srimad Bhagavatam 11.12.7 exemplifies that Lord Krishna tells Uddhava, the gopis of Vrindavan did not study the Vedas to achieve me, nor had they ever been in the holy places of pilgrimage. Nor did they ever devoutly execute any regulative principle, nor did they undergo any kind of austerity. It is simply by my association that they have attained the highest perfection of devotional service.
Yes. So let's take a look at it. Lord Krishna tells the gopis of Vrindavan did not, nor they went to places of pilgrimage, no regular they undergo austerity, but by my association they were attained by my mercy like that. What are the two types of prema? Mahatmya Jnana, prema mixed with knowledge of Lord's majesty. Kevala prema, unmixed, no understanding of the opulence of the Lord in that way. So let's take a look at Mahatmya Jnana Prema. Narada Pancharata illustrates prema imbued with the knowledge of Lord's greatness. If on account of profound veneration for the greatness of the Supreme Lord, one attains a great affection and steady love for Him, one is certainly assured of achieving the four kinds of Vaishnava liberation. So devotees who achieve bhava from Vaidhi sadhana can attain Mahatmya Jnana Prema like this. And Kevala Prema, pure one-pointed prema, is not even slightly mixed with any other aspiration or interest. So that goes to Mother Shama Vallavi's point about Narad Muni, or in reference. So this is one line which is going through up to prema. Now, Kevala Prema, not mixed with any aspiration, any interest. This is, as you call spontaneous. Such an aspiration for Vaikuntha liberation, interest in Lord's profound power or opulence means no interest in such opulence of the Lord. Devotee with one-pointed love always lovingly fixes mind upon Krishna without slightest deviation to any other topic. Srila Prabhupada explains with the quote from Narada Pancharata. If a devotee is continuously in love with Lord Krishna, his mind is always fixed upon him. That devotional attitude will prove to be the only means of attracting the attention of the Lord. In other words, the Vaishnava is always thinking of the form of Lord Krishna is to be known as pure Vaishnava. A Vaishnava was always thinking of the form of Lord Shri Krishna is known to be as pure Vaishnava. Devotees are achieved who achieve bhava from Raganuga sadhana can attain Kevala Prema. You getting it? Through Vaidhi sadhana, there is awe and reverence that continues up to prema. And the example of that stage of prema is called Mahatmya Jnana Prema, where there is an understanding of opulence or some, mixed with prema, mixed with the knowledge of Lord's majesty. And then through Raganuga, where there is no idea of this whole opulence or majesty, one attains to Kevala Prema. I hope that answers this question like that. Evolution to Prema. Adho Shraddha Tasadu Sangha Bhajana Kriya Anartha Nivrati Syat Tatho Nishta Ruchistataha अथाशक्ति ततो भाव तथा प्रेमा भी उदंचति साधका कन्मयम प्रेमना प्रदुर्भवे भवित क्रमः. In the beginning there must be faith, then one. So how one comes to the stage of prema? The whole progression is given. The limbs of bhakti or the progression of bhakti, this verse identifies. And just to explain this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have written a book by the name of Madhurya Kadambini, the cloud bank of nectar. It's a must-read book actually. In fact, Prabhupada didn't give a purport to it, but it's very important at the stage of sadhaka actually, Madhurya Kadamni. Okay, in the beginning there must be faith that one becomes interested in associating with pure devotees. Thereafter one is initiated by the special master. So, okay, Adho Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, then an association of devotee, he gets the opportunity to render service, Bhajana Kriya, then Anartha Nivrati, then Nishtha, then after that Ruchi, and then this is the way of sadhana bhakti. Execution devotional service according to regulative principle. Generally, then Nishtha as Ruchi, then Asakti, and then Prema. This is the gradual development of love of Godhead for the devotee interested in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada summarizes this verse in page number 146, first paragraph. Alright. Now, what is the difficulty of understanding Prema? Usually we judge person's level of success by how happy he has become. The standard becomes useless when applied to prema bhaktas. A devotee prema is so inundated in verbs of transcendental emotion that he cannot even perceive external happiness or distress. Consequently, attempting to measure success by conventional standards is fruitless and misses the point. Who is the perfect example? The perfect example is the Brajavasis after Krishna left, and when Krishna sent Uddhava. This is our next subject matter of upcoming Sunday evenings. We're going to talk about Uddhava visits Vrindavan after Mathura Lila. And there when he came and he saw how devotees were stunned, they were just maintaining body. for no purpose actually. They had no purpose to live, or their only purpose to live was they were just maintaining their body or the life here. Maybe if Krishna comes back to Vrindavan, we should be there to receive him and serve him like that. So they were not at all happy. They were so much grief stricken, and that's a point. In prema, a devotee in prema is so inundated in waves of transcendent emotion that he cannot even perceive external happiness or distress. Consequently, attempting to measure success by conventional standards is fruitless and misses the point. My dear Supreme Goddess, you may know for me that anyone who has developed the excessive love for the Supreme Lord, who is always merged in transcendent bliss on account of this love, cannot even perceive the material distress or happiness coming from the body or the mind. Further information, Prema, Srila Rupa Goswami refers the reader to read Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Srila Sanatana Goswami for a more detailed description of these affections and dealings of Prema Bhakti. He ends, that is Rupa Goswami, ends the Eastern Division by offering obeisance to his Guru, Sanatana Goswami, and other prominent Goswamis. Srila Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Prabhupada ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. किसी का कोई प्रश्न? I kind of did it in hurry, but it's good if we read it, understand it, and then maybe we can have some discussions later on. But at least if this was an introduction, so you've got some introduction to the subject matter for the time being. And maybe in the later studies of books like Madhurya Kadambani, or the study of book like Chaitanya Charitamrita, or like Brihad Bhagavatamrita, this subject matter can be discussed more intimately and elaborately what it means. And as a devotees, we should aspire to come to such books and read. But before we read, it's good if we have a philosophical standing, some understanding of what it is, like what we read in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Although very lofty subject matter, at least the last few chapters, but Prabhupada still said it is very important for every devotee to study it. Then you understand Bhakti. And then when you read CC and other books, then you understand what's happening over there, like that. All right, Madhav Kripa Prabhu, let's take I don't know, your hand is up for reading or some questions?
Yeah, literally.
Yes.
I just switched on the light. No, it was for reading.
All right, so thank you all for joining in. Here we conclude our Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu's discussion. Some concluding thoughts on this subject matter. It's very interesting and beautiful how Rupa Goswami concludes. After explaining everything, then he concludes describing the stages of bhakti. Ado Shraddha, the Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. Reminding all of us, figure it out where we are on what stage and act on that stage. For all of us, we are at Bhajana Kriya stage. It doesn't mean that Anatha Nivritti doesn't begin at Bhajana Kriya. It begins even at the first stage of Shraddha itself. But the idea is this is a progression. So we all are situated at Bhajana Kriya where we've been engaged in devotion service, and some of us could have dealt a lot with our Anartha Nivritti. Some of us, or some of you, could be at the stage of Nishtha also. Beyond that is beyond my level of comprehension, so I would not say who is here on the stage of Prema, but at least at the stage of Nishtha in that sense. So this is how beautifully explained. This is a journey. We have the ultimate goal, Krishna Prema. But what's the journey? This is a journey. Adashada, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti. So all of us at least have reached up to that stage. And then comes Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema, like that. Those stages follow up. Only caveat here is maximum devotees make their permanent stay at Anartha Nivritti stage. Somehow they don't just move forward only, and they get sucked into the stage of Anartha Nivritti. And thereafter the verse comes Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Of course, that is not actually spoken for devotees, that's spoken for Gyanis, but somehow we get stuck over there. So. All right, anyways. So, but that's the subject matter of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Few key points. My humble request to all of you would be, I know all of you are extremely busy, but if your time permits, before you close your subject matter for today, close your eyes for a few minutes, just meditate on the subject matter of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, make a small prayer to Rupa Goswami, and just write down few take-home messages for yourself. What are the few things that Srila Rupa Goswami is asking us to really work on? Just like, cultivating the sincere desire, lolium. What are the key points? I don't want to give all those key points now, then there's no point of your meditation. Think about what things that he's encouraging us, that can really move us from our current stage to the advanced stage. Just jot it down. And I would say at least there is good beginning for us to start with. We'll learn something. Of course, exam will happen. You'll write your answers. Some of you may score 100 out of 100, but we may not move anywhere in a bhakti. We may still be stuck where we are stuck. That should not become the objective of study. Maybe something we can apply in our life in that way.